Here we are for Racing Rant this week on Monday, I don't know, last Monday in June, coming off a Randwick race meeting. Some good news. In part one day, we're going to rip through these races a bit quicker than usual and get to your emails, because in part two, we're waiting on Richard Irvine to come and be a part and tell us all about fair wagering and where we're at this stage. So really looking forward to seeing him. I'm sure it'll be terrific. Boys, Saturday, I know I only tipped two winners on top from the parade ring. They were collateral, and I thankfully managed to blast out a bit myself on Palathronius and got out to $9, and they're the only two winners I could find. To me, it was a meeting, it was hard to find winners.
Well, firstly, let's talk about the track condition. So I'm saying that's a heavy 9, that track. And I said to someone at soccer yesterday, I said, you know, track was a heavy 9. And they went, how could that be? How could that be?
It was a good four at Kembla.
Yeah.
Same state, not that far away. How's a good four and heavy 9?
Same sort of rain. Yeah, no, Randwick's fucked.
You know, the thing is, walking in the middle of the track was dry as a bone as well.
It always is good.
You know?
It always is, because they haven't renovated the middle of the track.
Yeah.
So what, do we just got to get used to the next 5-10 years that Randwick's going to be rooted in winter if we get rain early?
Yeah, it's rooted most of the time. But the point being that middle of the track where they haven't asphalted, where you park your car, that was the old Randwick course proper. The sandy track that the track would be underwater on Friday, sun would come out, and the track would be good on Saturday. And we're so far away from that, it isn't funny. I'm surprised the race club's not more embarrassed about the condition of the track.
I'm surprised there's not more written about it too, and you know, I'm surprised how used to it we've become, because it's really, form's sort of going out the window a little bit on this track. You know, you've got horses like Boss Lane, they're getting into a racing position, they've got no form, they're just railing up, they're running away to win by 3 lengths, and then you take that form going forward, it's going to be hard to cop. Because
well, that was particularly weird because the times, you know, and obviously the times do get worse through a Randwick program, but we saw the first 2 races over 1200, the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds, and then Boss Lane and the experienced open company horses, they couldn't keep up to the times that the youngsters ran.
Lipazan got that perfect drag, beautifully ridden by this girl. She's rode 3 winners. She's definitely just a girl to keep following. Well-balanced Rachel King I talk about. Preview show, I think we all thought Lipazan had not limited chance going up to 200 metres, and it all meant nothing. It just absolutely shit in, boys.
I suppose it was the Saturday. There were 2 Saturday horses and they won 2. Is that an answer? Star Galaxy, where does she go from the parade yard?
Last Starfighter or Star Galaxy? Galaxy?
Either of them, both of them.
I don't know what to do with Star Galaxy. I don't know what to do. Make any comments on this horses that have failed on this track on Saturday.
Okay. So should we be ignoring failures on this track?
Yes, absolutely.
Because the track certainly played on pace, but the first few races were very slow, and the particularly slow race was that mile race that we said had no leaders in the race, and so Marinostro took it up. Sound Proposition, who posied up there outside the lead.
Back in distance, posied up in the lead, probably never going to get beaten in the run. Again, another perfect ride by young Rachel. Talented rider.
We saw Yuma Desert finally break through. She just found a situation where Test the World refused to test her.
Yeah, I don't know what they... Like, I just, you know, like Yuma Desert just rolled along. We've seen her. She's been exposed. I'm like a little prick balloon. Where's the prick? Because I'll pop. She was running away from him at the 50-metre mark.
Yeah, well, Heavenly Anna had an unsympathetic run, and the betting certainly previewed that.
My word, it did.
And, you know, Test the World, it's that age-old, I've got the 59.5, I can't put any pressure on this leader because of my big weight. I can't hold it out because of my big weight. I have to...
Ty did ride patiently on most of his winning rides on Saturday, though, and the other
he was the rider of the day.
But that's what I'm saying.
Anyone that rode Test the World would have ridden it like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because that's the prevailing wisdom.
I mean, he was patient on conniving and got the job done. He was patient on
I'm saying,
collateral.
Yet again, I don't think it was a good ride on conniving. Yeah, everybody thought it was going to lead on its ear, and it sat OSL.
But sitting OSL, he controlled the whole race.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm saying if it goes to the front, it probably wins easier.
Yeah, if you're back conniving, you'd be happy with the ride, because it won.
Yeah, I did back it, but there you go. There's a horse that I wasn't going to back, and because of the pattern, I decided I was going to back. And then the one that I wanted to back was Barricade, and I didn't back because
it was going to be where it was. And that's probably the best one.
I had a heart attack at the 100-metre mark.
Gord was seen at the bar straight after that race.
Yes.
Gord's seen at the bar after about race 2, most race winners.
Oh, it is.
Marcus.
Job's done.
You love
done most of the time.
Collateral. $2.90, guys, seemed fair odds to me, I've got to say that.
Well, it was a tie special in the sense that I was worried that he might have burned his bridges at the 150, but he actually hadn't, he had something in reserve.
He had something in reserve.
Well, I think that was because of the track.
What? Gord had a theory about the track. tell us about your theory, Gord.
My theory was that between about the 300 and the 120, you just couldn't make ground if you were coming down the middle. And then when you got to that last section, you could make ground again. So I'm saying
So it was like a 2-speed track?
Yeah, there was a sticky spot middle of the track between the 300 and the 150 or something like that, where if you notice, a lot of horses loomed like they were going to go past and then they didn't, but then they started making ground again closer to the line. So I mean, how the hell are you going to take form out of this race?
How the hell are you going to bet going forward when you're worried about track bias at the 300 or the 150 metre mark? We might as well just close down the game and fucking go play ping pong or something.
Well, you know, let's race at Rosehill more.
Well, look, the interesting thing is that a horse going well managed to thrive, Pelothronius, and a horse you could never ever imagine winning a city race. Well, it has won a city race before as a 2-year-old, an early 2-year-old. But there is Salerno. Your Corindi beat him up. Like you wouldn't be backing it at Corindi.
I actually loved talking to Mark before the last race, and you just stamped it absolutely perfectly, Mark, because you said big field, extreme pace is going to be on up front. I'm really going to look for wide barriers. So I think you backed Proconsul and Lion Couchant and thought that even though Salerno had a wide barrier, it maybe didn't
Well, yeah, but at Salerno, I'm not seeing as an off-pacer. He sort of sat on the speed.
Well, the one thing about Salerno too is he has exposed himself with a little bit of a chink, and when a horse has a little bit of chink, they seem to not quite go past another horse. And he had the beautiful thing of the horse on the outside who beat him in the photo finish had no rider. So like all the planets aligned, and said, I'm a bit of a cat, let that one win. Well, that one didn't have a rider.
That's a good point.
Just toss your hands up. All you do is just toss your hands up and just walk, just go straight to the Donny and drink plenty of piss because it was a tough day. If Pelothronius doesn't win, dead set, I am walling for a month.
Okay, so I'll go straight to an email from Dave Potter who wrote, I know you are a big fan of the gun, and I don't watch him as close as you probably do, but lately the only one who would be making money out of Abdullah will be the one who's selling him dope. Of course, that's a facetious statement, but he is riding like he's on another planet, and there ain't any horses on that planet. Something just ain't right in Brenton's world. Even the aggression that is his trademark doesn't seem to be there. I know he's better than that, but WTF. And
okay, well, but by the same token, jockeys aren't going to get on the right horses every single Saturday.
He ran last in 4 of the first 5 races.
He ran last. Okay, he ran last on Vic. Vic never handled the track.
He ran last on Labdian.
It was Chris Waller. It's Labdian. We know with this horse.
He ran last on Unyielding.
He eased that horse out of the race. It was something he wanted to miss.
And he ran last on Richard of York.
Richard of York was 32 back to 2400, but carrying a flat tyre, shouldn't have been in the race. Come on, that's unfair. That's unfair. Those horses, as it turned out, all had none.
Yeah, but maybe there's a little bit of black ball pressure there. You know, when you...
He handled the next race well. He was second last on the horse. At least he beat one home. Okay, he's had a bad day. But maybe it's not Brenton's had a bad day.
From hell.
He's been on cattle that couldn't go.
It could be black ball pressure. You know, when you're playing pool and the hardest ball to sink is the black.
Yeah.
What are you saying, trying to get home for this
because that's the win. There's
a little bit of...
Maybe.
Could be a little bit of choking going on here.
I'd say one thing. Get on the lay side of Brenton at your own peril. I'll be on the backside. And of course these jockeys all runs and they're the first, I remember I spoke to Brownie 10 years ago and he was like, I hadn't ridden a winner in 52 starts. I said, this is your 53rd ride. He said, I know. They know when the things aren't going their way. So it's just a...
Who's written this Betfair's mythical argument thing?
Oh, that was Peter Lambie. So I put that in so you knew what he said.
Mr. Valle's right there.
Yeah, well, they're not a waging operator, are they? So as soon as you start with a falsehood and then...
Yeah,
but they admitted to being a waging operator when they gave up at the court case last time. Yeah. I thought I was blowing up about that then. Why are you succumbing to this pressure when you aren't a wagering operator? Yeah. That's always been the argument.
Anyway, we'll cover all that in part 2 with Richie. Hi guys, always
appreciate... excited for Richie.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, of course. Well, the 2,000 rule is just,
I know. Gord is.
Great.
Gord, were you playing much before the minimum bet came in?
I was about to retire. Well, I was about to bet on just sport.
Yeah.
Get a job.
No, not a job.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Job's too hard.
So he's one of your favourite guys. No? Hi guys, always appreciate you discussing my questions. Has been a big help, so thank you. Over many years of betting, I've never been as accurate with my assessments on genuine heavy tracks, and I've often avoided them for this reason. I was wondering if you'd give me an idea how you approach them differently to dry tracks, and perhaps offer some pointers and/or debunk a few myths. I've listed some of the more common theories below for comment discussion. Most obvious, previous experience on heavy tracks, and especially the track of today's race, which I expect is overplayed by the market. In the absence of previous experience...
Does he want to comment on each one as we go along here, Mark?
Well, okay, be my guest.
Okay, but what's he saying here? Previous experience on heavy tracks. I think the most important experience on heavy tracks is heavy tracks at that track.
And he's saying, is that overplayed by the market?
Possibly is a touch.
I've looked at it two ways and I really struggle. So Mark has always stressed to me that fitness is just as important as...
Fitness and positioning, you know, like which position you're in.
I haven't found a way to make money on... There's only one thing that I've found to make money on wet tracks, and that is if there is a dead set swimmer, I like them drawing on the inside. Yeah. Which is weird, you might say.
Talk about Snappy One in relation to that.
Okay, so what happens is they're all trying to get wide normally on heavy tracks, but if you're an absolute swimmer, your top speed is the same on the worst part of the track as it is the good. So if you draw an inside barrier, they're all wasting energy and lengths getting wide, and you can come through on the inside and win the race.
And then you get to the middle as well.
Yeah. So that's the only angle.
And as far as overplayed by the market, I think you can accept two rolls. So for example, if you thought your horse was going to be $7, it finds it's a heavy track, then you can cop $6, but you can't cop $4.20. So like I think that's sort of spot. Two rolls maybe.
In the absence of previous experience, how important is a wet track pedigree?
Not like it used to be. Definitely not like it used to be, because we only had a small amount of size.
And you were really, like in the 90s,
I was a gunner.
You were the wet track pedigree king.
Yeah. Now I'm completely confused. There's so many shuttle size. People want to tell you the commands all handle the wet. In my experience, commands generally fail. So
what about the Sebrings? They seem particularly adept to me.
They seem adept, yeah. So I get back now because I've got away from the old sire person that I used to be, because now I'm so much more a mounting yard male person, and I've nominated what's a mounting yard male type, so I tend to think, oh, who gives a fuck what the sire is? I'm after the type.
The funny thing is, Billy's story comes out of the races occasionally, and it's like getting a little glimpse of the way you were in the 90s.
Good man, good man.
Very good man.
Medagliadoros are the hot new sire for me on the wet track going forward. As the younger sires, you know, because this size change, I mean, like, you know, beautiful crowns don't handle the wet, but you can't see any more beautiful crowns.
Yeah, but there must be some dam sires that, the sire of dams that...
Beautiful crowns were the worst I've ever seen in the world.
What does a good and bad wet track action / type look like, and how reliable, profitable is this knowledge?
It definitely has a certain look, and there's a lot of profit to it. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question.
Right, but you're quite confident when you see what you see in the mounting yard that will translate into what happens on the track?
Absolutely. Like, you can't believe it, especially when you get the prototype wet tracker against the 7 or 8. There's more chance a horse won't be a wet track type than a good track type. And when you get a real wet track type, for example, there was one race just recently at Warren, they called the meeting off, and the winner was $10 in a field of 5, and it was a prototype wet tracker, and they all weren't at all. It was an absolute fill-up. They called the meeting off. It won by 3 lengths. I've never driven down the highway so happy.
I couldn't believe it. Glenn rang me about an hour and a half after that meeting was called off, and I expected him to be blowing up. He was like chipper. So happy.
So chip I didn't get to spend 7...
Is that the last time you won on a meeting?
Oh, fuck, it was fat too. And it just shit in. Like, it was, Jay Collett rode, he just steered and steered and steered, and people don't even understand why it won, but I do. But anyway.
Assuming even tempo, should you generally be looking to back on pace grinding types rather than back markers who have had their brilliance dulled by the surface?
More your question, huh?
Well, Gord sort of highlighted, the sorts of things you could be looking for in a race. I do prefer to back on pace types, and I think that those soft draws where saving ground can really work for you is perhaps a better way to play the back markers. By the same logic, do heavy tracks bring some superior horses back to the field so that the favourites should generally be longer and the roughies shorter?
I agree with that. I think the market should Constantine.
But isn't the point about wet tracks in that half the horses are no longer competitive, and that's why favourites should in fact be shorter? Or could be shorter.
I used to think that, but the heavy tracks we've been getting to these days, like at Randwick on Saturday, it's become a bit of pick up sticks. I mean, like, you know, Netanyahu won by 10 lengths that day at Randwick.
Yeah.
Is that its form? Or is that the form of the others?
I'm still waiting to see it. I know that...
like, what I'm saying is that things are, like, not as they should seem. It's just... It's game on at the moment with wet tracks as far as the marketplace.
Okay, so what about... Let's try this theory that there's fewer horses competitive, but of the horses that are remaining competitive, they're compacted. So the price of the favourite basically stays the same, and the price of the other competitive horses gets closer to it.
Yeah.
They soak up the market percentage
the price
of the
failures goes the other way.
Yeah. Should you treat Should you treat races on heavy tracks as being slightly longer? For example, 1100 on a heavy track is more like 1200.
Good. I don't.
I'm not.
I'm not sure.
I can't fit into that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I know it's a theory going around.
I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just that it doesn't sync with me.
Like Sound Proposition on Saturday looks like a 2,000 metre horse. Came back to the 1600 on the heavy and trotted in.
Yeah.
But is it because I found racing position and a kid on fire? I don't know.
I don't think we should be using Saturday as a
Yeah, Saturday's a bad
Saturday's a weird heavy track, whereas you get heavy tracks on other courses, and it seems far more. You can make more sense of it. Should you be looking to backfit horses, or again, is this generally overplayed by the market? Well, I think fitness is only just one aspect of. It's an important aspect.
It's one aspect, but I think it's if you're talking just about price, I'd say there's probably more value in it. You know.
Yeah, I think that the market is pretty savage on horses that are coming back, and I suspect that that's where to back the right ones of those, the fresh horses, despite the fact that they're not seasoned on the track, might be a better angle. Markets seem to fluctuate more wildly on heavy tracks. In general, should you be more mindful of these moves than normal?
Definitely more mindful of them, because when the market does lock into one horse, I'll give you an example, and had a bit of a sticky track there during the week. It was $4 all morning, that Estorage, and they went up $3.80, and I remember thinking, oh, I could nearly take this, and I just didn't. And then it was into 360 for a while. That it'll get back to 380. Bang! Next thing it's 280.
Well, that's because Sismontane was 450.
Yeah, I know. Things do shrink quick on the wetter tracks.
Do you bet bigger or smaller on heavy tracks?
I used to bet bigger.
I bet bigger.
You bet bigger?
Oh, look, I've had much more success in winter time than I have in summertime.
I bet a lot smaller.
I'm tending to get. I used to bet bigger, and I'm in a transitional stage where I'm just. After Saturday especially, I'm just, some races I just get my head in, a perfect example on Saturday was I've been looking at a person's prices and with respect, and come the last race, it was just like a head fuck day all day. They didn't price one horse, they didn't price Salerno. So I picked up the phone and said, look, you fucked up here, you haven't put a price on this. And I said, oh yeah, sorry, I thought it was a scratcher, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we'll just use them up. Okay, sweet, blah, blah. And then he asked me, he said, but I've got a good feeling for a horse called Proconsul. What do you think? Because I'm a bit of a Proconsul fan, have been for a lot of years.
It's been poorly handled, I think.
It's past its best and blah, blah, blah. This is what I said. And then as I hung up the phone, I walked to the program and said, God, I should take a $10 Cornella. That's what I thought. Fucking, that was just what's the race. They're going, they just tick off on the end of the day. Fucking Salerno wins because of old mate's got no runner, and there's down the outside Proconsul. God, it was a weird day.
Right, on another subject, I've tried to get an answer from Racing New South Wales, but no reply. Why are Canberra-trained horses eligible for highways, but they have to go in the provincial championship?
I've got no idea. It's a great question.
If anyone knows that, please write in.
It's a great question.
So that will do in part 2.
Yeah, we'll look at that thing with the tab merger in part 2.
I noticed that race. It was Lambourne and Partners. Did you see that?
Yeah. The Lambourne and Partners, what's his name? The Hawkesbury horse that Robert Thompson rides that wins the staying races at Newcastle. One on Thursday. Go Benny.
Go Benny
won the Lambourne and Partners benchmark 60.
And you found it too.
And I found it. Yeah. I looked up the Lambourne and Partners, their accountants in Hamilton. They've got the biggest staff of all time. I've never seen such a big accounting firm.
How classic's that? That was a perfect example of good Robert, that ride. That was outstanding, because if you watched its previous run on Racing New South Wales where it ran third, it's a particularly, I don't know.
Now, an apprentice in Queensland got 3 months for having 69 bets. One of the panel members' thoughts is J Mac got 2 years and Damien only got 12 months.
I think if you look at the bets, I think he's just a kid. He's an apprentice, and he's probably First of all, it sounds like he's dopey enough to have his own account and his own name or whatever.
With you bet.
He's having $10 and $20 bets, and they've just nominated him. He's just a little junkie punter, and they're just trying to get it out of the system.
Maybe he wasn't riding in the races.
He wasn't riding in.
Oh, okay.
And they weren't on his horses.
Yeah.
And he's just, see, in a way, a jockey becomes a jockey, and so all of a sudden he's not allowed to have a bet on horses. But what if we had a jockey out there saying on social media, I've just had 58,000 on Manly today? Can you imagine the racing bodies? They'd be howling at that, but why can't he do that? Like, I've got a big income, I earn 500,000 a year, I think Manly and Miles, I'm having 50,000 on them. But they would be torn at the shreds for doing it. So part of being a jockey is part of not being able to have a bet, basically under any circumstances. It's so funny. I know Larry...
You can't eat and you can't bet. Not for you, Glenn, not for you.
Larry Cassidy used to play cards at the casino, at poker.
Yeah.
Because he enjoyed playing cards. But it's a funny look.
Well, interestingly, I looked up the rule. So Australian rule 83, every jockey or apprentice may be penalised if he bets or has any interest in a bet or facilitates a bet on any race, or if he be present in the betting ring during any race meeting.
I see jockeys in the betting ring all the time, and a lot of the jockeys have to walk through the betting ring to get to the jockey's room. A lot of these rules are a bit antiquated now, but
well, that's it. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's about what you choose to enforce.
Yeah, I suppose.
Same
Look,
with...
let's go to Japan. It's a modern civilization. They put them in jail on Thursday night at the Hilton and don't let them use their phone till after the race meeting on Saturday. So, I mean, they'd probably get it right, the old chaps. Finally, they got something right. Lock them all up, I say.
Hi, guys. In 1982, McGinty, and I remember this well,
So
Mr. McGinty came over from New Zealand. He was owned by a close family friend and New Zealand's greatest ever race caller in Keith Horby. He went on to win the Todman Stakes, well, it was the Todman Slipper Trial back then, beating Maskey by a narrow margin, who went on to win the Slipper. And I was actually flying to New Zealand as Maskey won the Slipper. The story goes that following this victory, in the weeks leading up to the Golden Slipper, stewards and New South Wales Police uncovered a plan by the Mafia to enter Mr. McGinty's stables at night through the roof and to put paid to the horse's Golden Slipper chances. Police asked Colby if he knew of anyone willing enough to use a gun and provide protection for McGinty. Horby got straight on the phone to New Zealand, and Shotgun Burke, my grandfather, was on the first plane over. He kept guard of McGinty in the weeks leading up to the Slipper, sleeping in the horse's box with a loaded shotgun. Golden Slipper Day was upon them and the Mafia never came. Not sure how true this all is, but a great tale none the same.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Mark or Glenn had any great Mafia racing stories. Love the show, guys.
None that I can tell.
And do hope to venture across the ditch and meet you guys at the races one day.
Well, what a great grandfather you had, Shane. Your grandfather's name was Shotgun Burke. They're definitely different times.
Yes.
How funny is that story? And I hope most of it is true. Look, Mafia stories. I don't know anyone from the Mafia, to be honest, but I've had the odd bloke tap me on the shoulder wanting me to turn over money for retribution my way, but like I do with all tough blokes, they say, why don't you just go get fucked? How's that sound? Because you get into beds with people like that, next thing they get pinched and they give everybody up like everyone does in the drug world. Next thing you're doing 5 years. I was making enough money anyway without turning over 100,000 to make 10,000 for them. Or 10,000 for me. So I've always... That type of thing that's come my way, I've always said no.
But it was, remember the old days when, people would come up to you saying, you got any betting tickets?
God,
got any betting tickets?
You'd have like a $9,000 collected cash and someone would be next to you and say, I'll give you $9,900 for the ticket. Well, it's pretty inviting, but if you do say yes, next thing you're in bed with old mate, you're better off to tell them to fuck off. And they appreciate when they get told to. Hard blokes appreciate when you tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, that's right. They like to be straight with you.
No.
Circles.
Well, I've been in a race course all my life. I have, and it was just easy to say fuck off. I had a young wife and 3 beautiful children. Do I need another $900? Next thing you're doing it 10 times in a month. Next thing they're owning you, and next thing that someone get caught, they say, oh yeah, Pollitt used to turn our money over. Next thing you're doing 8 years. Good rationale there. Hi, gents. I live as well broke as I do when I'm rich anyway. Nothing changes. Nothing fucking changes.
Here's nothing changes. Hi,
I
gents.
can pay my rent.
Guess who's back? I was at Kembla Grange on Saturday. Yes, Glenn. Newcastle Thursday, Kembla Saturday.
Yeah, Teeny was back.
I don't know what's come over me all of a sudden. Race 5 was restarted after a full start. Everyone see the full start at Kembla?
I saw a great tweet on Matt Taylor's thing. Any chance of a salute?
That's what I was thinking when I was watching
Fuck, it was
Matt.
a funny
That's exactly
tweet.
what I was thinking.
Matt Taylor, you do some funny tweets, and you're I only warmed to Matt after he kind of left us, but he's an absolute champion, Matt Taylor.
Which Matt Taylor?
The first one. Yeah. I wasn't warning him at first because Dallas employed him. Oh, we've got old mate here. Well, what do we need old mate? And it was hard to warn to him and he wanted to be in the business. I didn't really know him, but to know him now is a real privilege. He's a fucking champion.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best.
Doing it for you.
Race 5 was restarted after false start. Most horses were pulled up after 100 or so metres. Yet Balmain Girl was solidly ridden out to the line. Jockey Sam Clark not realising and subsequently whipped the horse in the straight thinking he'd won. So, for future reference, Balmain Girl did start today and had a solid 1200 metre barrier trial workout. It was 30-1 before being scratched for the second attempt at running the race. My gripe is that Coolotta stayed with Balmain Girl until just before the turn, was subsequently passed fit to run, then ran 7th at 7-1. So for future reference, Coolotta ran over about 1800 metres today and had an extra jump out. Why wasn't it a scratching? Surely a horse going more than a couple of hundred metres in a false start should be an automatic scratching.
Should be automatic scratching. It's an absurd decision to race that horse. And just getting back to Balmain Girl, for your form out there, it won't be in the form book, but you've got to remember that Balmain Girl is basically a mare off a win by 400 lengths. It's got the biggest, staying at the same class with the same weight. It's got like the biggest tick, but you've got to remember, so Balmain Girl keeper will win next start.
Also, special mention to local bookmaker Grant Lynch, who's a good guy, who offers a free $10 bet after you've had 6 previous bets of that amount or more with him.
Bit like a coffee card club member.
So Teeny was betting up with him, eh? Full marks for initiative. And the NOP prices were nothing like those being offered by the 3 on-course bookies.
See you at Warwick Farm on Wednesday. Well, you guys get to meet Teeny. I met her on Thursday. It was an absolute privilege and intelligent,
ornament to the game,
passionate person, likes the racings. Had a few run-ins on a few of the bloody social media sites because of, I don't know, it seemed like a nice enough person to me and super intelligent and loves racing. How can't you like a person like that?
Yeah.
And has been a great contributor to the show. I said that to her. She did say that she needs to speak to you about wages. I basically said, well, good luck. Good on you, Teeny. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday and the boys will be meeting you out there.
Now, the NOP, honestly, you look at the NOP and you look at the ring and you go, they don't seem to match up at all, do they?
It's just I don't know why they're putting him up there.
Well, but it's the greatest opportunity for on-course bookies to advertise the fact that they bet so much better than the NOP and you can get on to win 5,000.
In one bookie. You can get on to win 30,000 if you back 6 bookies.
So finally they've been freed from the responsibility of setting the prices and they can bet whatever they like.
Yeah, and the only downside is they are going up about the 20-minute mark now. They used to be half an hour. It hasn't been.
Oh, I see.
You know, it is Rafferty's rules a bit, the race course. Like the stewards do nothing to enforce any rules of racing in the betting ring anymore. They had a sweep about a year ago to check that the clerks weren't using their phone and carried on like absolute pork chops. I did see on Saturday, I won't mention any names, but a bookmaker had his son running the stand and the son was 11 years of age. Like there's not a copper in sight. So what I'm saying to the New South Wales stewards,
if an
11-year-old, he's the nicest kid, if an 11-year-old can stand up and adjust the prices on your father's bookmaking business, if that's allowed, then do not come into the ring and expect anyone to follow any rule of anything. Like it's just outrageous. He's the nicest little kid. He's as smart as a whip.
Yes,
he's there standing up. Dad does the machine, and this is allowed. Like for fuck's sake!
I think it should be allowed. Anyway,
I don't know about 11-year-olds running. Imagine the great Ray Hopkins, the great Lenny Berg, William Waterhouse, great men of the track that bet and tell her.
I know.
There, and there's an 11-year-old up there. And then next week, all the stewards rush in and check the bookies clerks' phones. Like, honestly, fuck off. Because they're not doing anything. It does my head in. Like, so you got bookies off stands running around, that rule get broken. You got 11-year-olds running stands. The dress sense has gone out the gate. If there's no rules, if it's anarchy, let's leave it anarchy.
Lenny Burke is turning in his grave. Phil Matz is turning in his grave.
They're turning in their grave, our grave. Eric Conlon, imagine if he wandered in after 70 years of bookmaking for a day at the race and there's an 11-year-old there running a stand. Like,
yeah, it's turned into a sideshow.
Yeah, I think you need to do a sweep in the ring and sharpen things up, boys, or never come in again.
There's a good story on RaceNet. See, I'm all about getting children in gambling young.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get them when they're young.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think 14 or 15 is the right age.
Well, you should
No,
still be
earlier
going
than
to
that.
the
It's gotta
track.
be earlier than that.
Yeah. Anyway, what happened to bloke owned a horse in America? I read this on, I don't know, Punters or Racing or something like that.
One of the news
Yeah, and
sites.
so he had a horse running. I think it was about, I don't know, 4-1 or something like that. He bought he had 100 $2 bets on it, and he walked around before the race giving it to kids so they could have something, a bet on his horse, and it saluted. So obviously the parents had to collect the ticket, but I thought, what a great way to promote the future of our industry.
But he was giving them a team to barrack for.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
Also,
all
he
those,
was
all
looking
those
for some-
7-year-old kids, they
Looking
go
for some good karma for his horse.
Yeah, that's what I reckon too.
I've had 4,000. What's another 200?
Yes.
What a game. What a
Very
great
good,
game it is.
Very good. Hi, Mark. A non-racing question. The other day I read in the newspaper that ride-sharing operator Uber had lost $1 billion last year, is losing $1.4 billion this year, and has still made a profit.
Not made any profit.
But is still valued at $78 billion on the American Stock Exchange. Its shares are selling around $30. How did they work that out? And apparently, you can lose, but if you can show that your losses are trending in a particular direction,
With a high turnover.
yeah,
A high turnover is the figure.
that's considered.
You're investing in possible future earnings.
That's
It's
right.
done everywhere.
So-
And one of the functions of price is how you're going to perform in the future. It's actually a major function.
That's well summed up there, Gordo. Adam writes, "Hi guys, been a big follower of the show from day one. Listening to your thoughts about punting, you guys give a great insight. I've always done the form ticking all the boxes, but I love the pen theory. Just some of my thoughts. This was before Saturday on how do I have the form? Could you please assist? Women jockeys. When I print the form out, the pen goes through every female. Rachel King's effort, I believe, is a one-off.
Be wary there. Be wary there.
I look for horses that have won the track and the distance and won on the track conditions.
So you just go tick, tick, yep.
Interstate, provincial, country gets the pen unless one in town before.
Okay. You're trying to do the form quick. That's what you're trying to do.
Speed maps, looking for horses in top 6, prefer leaders unless a lot of pace in the race.
Yep.
No bet for under 2-1. Summer or dry tracks price could take $2.50. So $3 otherwise, and in summer or
I don't mind
dry
that.
track, $2.50. Last start beaten favourite, forgive if the SP is better this time. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, I think it's...
Apprentice jockeys half pen, need SP 4-1. Top 8 jockeys combined with top trainer, big tick. Now, and then he
they're
goes,
all good ticks and crosses.
yeah, then he goes on to say, should I consider more seriously weights, trials, barriers?
Certainly trials. I've become a bigger fan of trials over the last 2 years than I originally ever was. I think there's a lot to be seen in trials. Weights I wouldn't be too
You
worried
need to
about.
be wary of weights because you need to be wary of what's going to happen. Like that Trianglet horse, for example, on Saturday, you know, it's gone up 4.5
Yeah.
kilos. You know what the connections are
does-
thinking. You
it
know what they're
Changes your thought and intention. Intent, yeah. And barriers, I think, you know, barriers are important on the
But-
track conditions on the day.
Yeah, but I think as far as weight's concerned, you'd be just changing your map.
Well, you're just
No.
being aware that people are going to treat it seriously.
Yeah, and he writes here, and last, yeah, look, you're obviously, you know, you're growing your racing brain, which is a good thing because it'll take you a long way in life having a good racing brain. Most younger people these days, everything's just like you pay for it by swishing a bit of plastic, your money goes into your account, you're trying to pants a Sheila, you don't even know what's going on half the time.
See, I'm saying he should use his ticks and crosses, whatever ticks he has left after he's gone through whatever meeting or meetings he actually does. There's not going to be a lot of them, okay? And you'll determine how many ticks you want to be interested in a bet. And when you've isolated those races, then look in depth at that particular race. So do your ticks and crosses. There's not going to be a lot of races there if you put
So
in
you're
enough
using your ticks and crosses to find the races to
that
concentrate
you're going to
on.
bet on, and then when you've done that, I do the videos on every horse in that race and interrogate it thoroughly, and if you're still comfortable, then it's a bet.
And the best results I've ever had on races are not generally when I've found a horse that's going to win. It's generally the race where I just find massive negatives for 2 or a good chunk of the market that I can dismiss in my mind as a chance, and that leads me into getting onto the winner.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And lastly, he goes, will Slaughter the Quarter ever return? I
honestly,
suppose
it was a
it
really good
will, but
segment.
we've just been having that many fights the last 6 months. I mean, we got hung out. Well, you know what happened to us. And we've been fighting. So just to come on and... We're a bit tentative about bag and jockeys. Next thing, their wives and girlfriends ring up the racing minister and we become unemployed over just freedom of speech, which they should kill the fact that they live in a country like this. With, you know, there's no freedom of speech in Iraq and Iran and all these bombs going off. They're not travelling that well over there. We got freedom of speech and the sun's out and going to the Coogee Beach and walk around in our Speedos. But if we say something a bit titchy about the jockeys, God knows in my experience now, they have become particularly precious and they don't like it and their families don't like it and they hammer us. So I don't know if slaughter will come back.
Apparently it's there in Hong Kong because you made mention, I think, before the show, Glenn, about the shorty not
competing, yeah.
Not competing yesterday, and Hats tweeted straight away that and Joey Moreira getting a polite round of applause in the parade yard for the next Sha-Tin. Okay, not really. Punters Collective, good team up there in Brisbane. They said, do they give a pollet-sized spray in Hong Kong?
I'd give a good spray.
Hats wrote back like 1,000 Chinese pollets.
That's gold.
1,000 Chinese pollets?
There's a perfect example of someone out of the country who's like got a beautiful racing mind and perfect. And if you ever want to come back to Australia, that would be able to team up with, I've got to tell you the truth, we've done part 2 with Richie already because he had to go. And he was, what's the next segment coming up? It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And he was talking about, you know, getting people involved in like political drive or whatever for the fair wagering. And someone like Alan Aitken comes to mind as a person that became back to Australia. Just awesome in representing punters in government and that. What about how we're trying to lie, because we've already done part 2. Oh, we're tricky here at Racing Rant.
What about the guilt you were feeling and you had to fess up? You're no good, mate.
Anyway, Stephen, who's obviously over in Hong Kong, he said this would be barred back in Australia, as in the demonstration. # nanny state.
Well, you know what the problem is too? There's only one of them, so it's easier to get you. Yeah. So if there were 1,000 out there
demonstrating,
and they all look the same.
Yeah.
Fuck, who was it? I was a bloke with black hair, he's 5 foot, had yellow skin and slinty eyes. They fucking do all look the same. Come on, that's not racist.
I wonder if they think we all look the same.
How do we look the same? You're like ginger nuts.
Yeah.
Hi guys, love the show. Beats anything on Sky or Racing.com. Gord made mention about being selective with your betting, but also keeping up your turnover. On average, how many meetings would you cover per week? How many bets would you have? Can already guess Glenn's answer.
That seems nasty.
Huh?
I go to 4 meetings a week. Out of the 32 races that I would bet on, I would say I'd bet on 30 of them. And my turnover can be anywhere between, say, 2x to 4x.
Gord, you want to say?
My discrepancy is like massive. So like I'll be like 50x to x. So
50, yeah.
Like I'll have a lot of like tiny stuff, and then probably about 4 or 5 times a week I'll have a premium bet.
Yeah.
And if 2 of those win, you have a winning week.
Yeah.
Out of the 5. One wins, you might chop out. If all 5 get beat, you want to hope a lot of your little fish will come in.
And
to pay
sometimes the little fish can take care of them.
And that's another way to play.
Plus planning to go backpacking in Asia. Any ideas about betting with Aussie corporates while overseas? Know anything about VPN number? Thanks, Ben.
Fuck, I've never given that any thought, Ben. Good luck with travelling through Asia trying to get a bet on. I mean, that's sick. Just travel through Asia.
Yeah, no, you can just jump on Google and just go. There's plenty of sites. They all do a good job. They're pretty cheap.
Don't you if you just travel through Asia, just have a backpack and
not think about punting?
Not think about punting.
Oh, but imagine you go away and you're still earning a living while you're travelling and enjoying yourself. Yeah. It's a pretty good way to do it.
Well, that's right, and you can watch everything now. Previously you couldn't know.
I did say that to a good friend Tony, and he's going to Europe for 3 months. He says, "Oh, you're going to miss the show?" He said, "It's WW race. You can watch the show in Italy." It does my head into the
Now, a final comment on our preview show on Friday for part 1. This sneaky part 1.
Oh, I love this.
David commented on our video. He said, could well be called racing wank.
Well, good on you, David. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do there, David. I'll tell you what I'll do there, because I like the photo and I like the comment, because we're dickheads, I know. Blah, blah, blah. I've never had a wank. I'll bet you $1 million you have. Or I'll bet you $1 million you've had more wanks than me. I'm on naught. I'm on naught. Like, never once. Like a virgin.
Dun, 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 dun.
One day I'll give myself, I just find myself too unattractive.
Anyway, you just...
Racing
Glenn, we're on countdown here. We've got 3 months till you...
Tap out, yeah, I know. It's coming soon, boys.
All right, so that's the end of part 1. Now, listen,
maybe you can do it a little bit like that In Excess guy. Didn't he? Wasn't he necking himself and pulling off at the same time?
What a waste of your life. Anyway, look forward to part 2. It's coming up. We've already done it. It's bloody exciting.
And look, smash that thumb because we need you to like us, or we want you to like us, or I think you're entitled to like us. And check out Ratings to Win, which is the premium form tool, form analysis tool. I use it, and I couldn't recommend anything else.
And so do all the players that make money. Your Snows, your Davidsons, your Irvines. They all use it.
That's right. Stewie came back in the fold. He said, I just can't afford not to have this. So Ratings to Win, check out the free info pack on our website. They are highly recommended by us and the best. See you in part 2.
See you in part 2.